I won't be able to come home for a while due to work. This was the lie Tom told me and started living together with his lover. Once I discovered this truth, memories of our miserable life together flooded back, fueling my anger and leading me to vow revenge on Tom. I will never forgive him. He threatened my life while happily living with another woman. Unforgivable. I'll show him what I'm capable of. I sought help from someone and planned my revenge. My name is Kelly Omar. I'm just a humble housewife, earning a little extra money through remote work. Tom and I have been married for 5 years now. We don't have any children, and we both dedicated our lives to our jobs. Tom, a salesman at a major machinery factory, recently got promoted to a manager. Even at 35, he brags about still being able to play around with younger women. I met him when he was just a worker in a small downtown factory. He seemed sincere and dedicated to his work, which impressed me. My friends described him as shy and reserved, so I thought we were a good match. After 2 years of dating, we got married. However, once we married, his luck seemed to change, and he switched jobs to his current company. He's not great with women but very proactive in his work, and his sales talents were soon recognized. His work life became extremely busy, often staying out late by entertaining clients. He also started interacting more with women. It is often heard that business relationships are important to sales. And at first, I patiently waited up for him. But then, he began not coming home at all. Every weekend he'd go out, returning only on Sunday mornings. When I confronted him, he'd dismissively say it was none of my business. To make matters worse, he'd belittle me over income differences. "Don't you dare question me, the breadwinner, especially when you can't even earn half of what I do." He didn't even know what my work involved. He stopped showing any interest in the rest of my life just because I was doing freelance work. All he talked about was himself. "You're lucky to work from home at your own pace. I have to meet high expectations." It was a common occurrence for him to bask in his sense of superiority, looking down on me and indulging in self-satisfied monologues. I did my best but could only earn around $60,000 a year, while his income soared to about $160,000. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't match him. This helpless feeling gradually took a toll on my mental health. When I considered returning to my hometown, Tom harshly lectured me. "Who's going to make my meals if you're not here? Can't you just buy something? I thought you ate out on the days you didn't come home. Can't you do that when I'm not here?" I haven't been able to visit my hometown for many years now. The reason is Tom. Whenever I mention wanting to go back, he starts threatening me about how it would affect his life. But this time, I've reached my limit. I want to breathe the fresh air of the countryside and refresh my spirit. Staying indoors all the time is suffocating. I've been talking to my parents on the phone, but since they haven't seen my face, I want to reassure them. However, no matter how much I plead, Tom never seems to give the okay. He's probably afraid that I'll talk about him at home. Tom hates the idea of his reputation being tarnished. He's drunk on his image as a successful, high-earning man. Plus, he's got the looks and charm. When his reputation is lowered like that, and moreover, when it comes from his wife's family, it's not good for many things. That could even spread to his own family. He's well aware of how he's belittled me and made my life miserable. If he didn't want to risk this, he shouldn't have treated me this way from the start. But despite all this, I can't speak my mind to him, because I live in fear of him. This started about 6 months after he joined his current company. As he got busier with work and had less time for me, he began to suspect me of cheating. "I don't have time to pay attention to you, but you've got plenty of free time to bring other men home." I was shocked at the accusation, as there was no truth to it. I tried to clear the suspicion by showing him my phone and explaining my daily schedule, but Tom wouldn't trust me. Instead, he demanded, "If you want me to trust you, listen to me." He set strict rules: answer his calls within a minute, send constant updates and photos of where I am when I go out. Rarely does he allow me to socialize with friends, fearing it might lead to mingling with men. And eventually, he even forbade me from visiting my hometown. The feeling of being so controlled pushed me to the edge, and I once tried to escape, only to be reported to the police and brought back. The month following my return was hellish. He isolated me so I couldn't meet anyone, and verbally intimidated me. I lived days in fear for my life, completely dominated by him. You're my wife. Do you think it's okay to neglect housework while your husband is at work? As I recall these terrible events, Tom suddenly threw a vase against the wall. The loud crash of the breaking porcelain and the sight of flowers scattering everywhere. It left me crouching, covering my head in fear. Kelly, I work hard to provide for you. You understand my love and how tough it is, right? You might be lonely when I'm not home, but I still want you here with me. You get that, right? His tone shifted from anger to twisted affection, approaching me as I trembled in fear, expecting to be hurt. This scene was truly bizarre. Fearing that he might hurt me again, I trembled uncontrollably, curling up in an attempt to protect myself. While I was scared, I repeatedly nodded in agreement with his words, desperately trying to appease him by apologizing. It seemed my frightened state was endearing to him. Tom bent down beside me, embraced me as if to protect me, and gently stroked my hair several times. Kelly, I love you. Just don't try to leave my side, okay? His actions were so creepy and frightening that I nodded in fear, completely dominated by his terror. I couldn't escape from Tom's twisted love. I didn't have the courage to break free from his control. It seemed I was destined to live like a slave by his side forever. Just as I had resigned myself to this puppet-like existence. A suspicion about Tom surfaced. Tom cheating. It was a call from my childhood friend. We've kept in touch even after I got married. It was a simple reason. She confronted Tom herself. Just because you're married doesn't mean you should stop seeing your friends, right? I've been friends with Kelly since kindergarten. It's not like we're anything more, so it should be fine to keep hanging out, right? Or is there a problem with me being friends with Kelly? My friend, who's always been straightforward and strong-willed, had Tom at a loss for words. If he argued too much, it might raise suspicions. So, reluctantly, Tom agreed to let me keep in touch with her, and he stopped objecting. I think part of it was because she's beautiful. Tom, who likes to surround himself with attractive people, was fond of her looks. When he was home, he'd invite her over, and the three of us would have dinner together, sometimes even going out to eat. When we were out, people would often comment on how lucky he was to be with such a beautiful friend. He probably felt a sense of superiority being seen with her. Then, on a day when Tom was at work, she suddenly called me, saying she had something important to discuss. I naively thought it might be a marriage announcement, but this call was about to reveal an unexpected truth. Please stay calm. I've got some shocking news for you, Kelly. Her serious tone made my heart race. Was it something I did? But then, she dropped a bombshell. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but now that I have solid proof, I need to let you know. I think Tom is cheating. I've seen him and the same woman going to a hotel several times, and so has a friend of mine. I was stunned by the news. I had never sensed any hint of infidelity from Tom. He would send pictures from his work drinks and regularly update me on his whereabouts. How could someone so diligent be cheating? I couldn't easily believe her words. But, could it just be a case of mistaken identity? Even as I said it, I couldn't fully deny it. Though Tom kept in touch, I couldn't be sure if the information was true. Preparing a cover story in advance wasn't impossible. In fact, finding evidence to disprove the cheating seemed harder. Yet, accepting such shocking news outright was also difficult. It was too sudden, and I couldn't organize my thoughts. My confusion deepened when my friend sent me an email. Can you still say that after seeing this? Saying it, she let me take a look at the attached images. Following her instructions, I opened the email. There, in the image, was Tom arm in arm with an unfamiliar young woman, entering a hotel in the hotel district. This! I knew your husband was cheating because that woman is the president's daughter of my company. We're about to sign a contract with your husband's company. I'm pretty sure she's married too. My mind was in turmoil, unable to grasp the unbelievable information and reality. I couldn't comprehend what she was saying. The shock of Tom cheating was enough, but the fact that the other woman was a president's daughter. So young and beautiful. And everything I wasn't, made me feel utterly defeated. I felt that way. It was sheer despair, like being thrown into the abyss. I felt like I had been thrust into the depths of despair. When I was shown these images by an acquaintance, I was speechless. I never thought it would be Tom, but now you see, right? Tom is cheating. You should look into it yourself. I'll help if needed. I was still reeling from my friend's call when Tom came home. In a panic, I ended the call and headed to the entrance. But I don't remember what Tom and I talked about after that. I can't even recall how I spent the rest of that day. The revelation of Tom's infidelity was just too much to handle. The next morning, waking up with the realization that Tom was gone. I couldn't remember when I had fallen asleep. All I knew was that I felt exhausted, dragging my heavy body to the living room to make some wake-up coffee. Tom's infidelity, mentioned by my friend yesterday. Was it true? I checked my phone, and sure enough, the call logs and emails were there. And as I looked at the attached images, tears welled up. "You said you loved me." Those words, I guess, were the only thing that had been keeping me going. Just as I was about to be overwhelmed by hatred. The house's doorbell rang unexpectedly. Unannounced visitors, other than delivery people, were rare. My in-laws would only visit through Tom. And my parents were out of the question. There were no deliveries expected today, and I hadn't heard anything from Tom. Who could it be? With all sorts of thoughts racing through my mind, I cautiously approached the intercom. As I pressed the talk button, the image of a neatly dressed man in a long coat appeared. Yes? I wondered if he was some new kind of door-to-door salesman. But there was no sense of him trying to be charming. His face was stern, and his imposing looks even gave off an intimidating air. Who was he, and what did he want? Holding my anxiety close, I responded to the call, and the man, facing the camera, urged me to confirm. "Are you Mrs. Omar?" He introduced himself as Scott and showed me a photo through the camera. "I need to talk to you about Mr. Omar. You'll probably understand without explanation once you see this. May I come in?" The photo he showed was the same one of Tom and his mistress that my childhood friend had sent me. Shocked, I covered my mouth with both hands, trembling with anxiety and fear. Why did he have it? Was he planning to blackmail me for money? No, if that was the case, he'd likely approach Tom directly. So why inform me? We have no connection. Who is he really? As I stood there, unable to respond, lost in my thoughts, Scott seemed to understand. And looked at me through the camera, speaking in a reassuring tone. "Don't worry, I'm on your side. I want to talk to you about your husband." At that moment, I had a feeling about who he might be. 9 times out of 10, that's what he is. I decided to trust him and let him in. "I'm sorry for barging in like this, but I didn't know how else to meet you. I've heard from people that you live a life controlled by your husband." So I opened the front door and let him in. From his manner of speaking, I gathered he must be an acquaintance of my childhood friend who had leaked Tom's photo. Relieved that my guess was correct, I listened to his story. "Let me introduce myself properly." He handed me his business card. The company name on it was that of a well-known national IT firm. And he was listed as the CEO. I immediately realized he was a significant figure. "Actually, the woman your husband is having an affair with is my wife," he revealed, leaving me speechless. "That photo was taken by a detective I hired. When I was investigating your husband, I found out about his connection to your friend and you. She and I have a business relationship and are also personally close. When we met recently to discuss work over dinner, she showed me the photo and told me about you." So, the acquaintance my friend had mentioned was Scott. I was too shaken by this unexpected connection to think clearly. Sensing my distress, Scott continued. "I'm considering divorcing my wife. But just divorcing isn't enough. Today, your husband and my wife won't be coming home. She said she was staying with a friend, probably has plans with Tom. I know this is all very sudden and confusing, but, Kelly, would you be willing to help me? I want to rescue you from this situation as well." "Help? What do you mean?" I couldn't hide my confusion. I had just learned about Tom's infidelity and was still processing it. I had no idea what to do next. Scott must have sensed my feelings. He gently took my hand and spoke words of comfort. "I've heard from your friend. She guessed what kind of life he is making you live. I'm sorry. Before approaching you, I had a detective look into your situation too. Your friend was worried about your safety. Honestly, I couldn't care less about what happens to my wife, but I can't ignore a man who treats women like that." Scott's words made me realize for the first time that someone understood my feelings. I had wanted to rely on someone, but I didn't know who to turn to or who I could safely tell about this. I was so cornered that I couldn't even think about it. His words made me reconsider my own situation. Until now, I thought I had to dedicate my life to Tom. I thought it was my only option. I felt trapped, fearing that if I tried to escape, I would be subjected to even worse treatment. I thought I would be caged until I died. But now, maybe there was a chance to escape. I could escape from here. I had a feeling that maybe. With this newfound hope, I decided to muster the courage to stand up. Scott, please keep what I'm about to say confidential. I want to change myself. Seeing the resolve in my eyes, Scott quietly nodded in response. I then poured out everything about the suffering I had endured to Scott. He empathized with my pain, holding my hand and tearfully praising my endurance. Then, he talked about what comes next. We couldn't just let it end this way. Scott and I decided to plot revenge. Sometime after speaking with Scott, Tom told me about a solo assignment in New York, saying he wouldn't be back for 3 months. I won't be able to come home for a while because of work. Keep the house in order while I'm gone. I'll be visiting occasionally. Despite what he said, I knew he was not going on a solo assignment but planning to live with his mistress. However, I pretended not to know, playing the part of an understanding wife who took his words at face value and saw him off cheerfully. So it's finally happening. After Tom left for his assignment, my childhood friend and Scott came to visit me. They helped me pack my things, with Scott taking care of various procedures. Kelly, are you ready for this? Scott asked me once we had finished packing. In my heart, I had already made up my mind. There wasn't the slightest chance of my resolve wavering. I nodded firmly to show my determination. Of course. I have no doubts anymore. Hearing this, Scott smiled, understanding my feelings, and my friend hugged me gently. You can always rely on me. I'm on your side. Thank you. So, I left the house to take revenge on Tom and his mistress. I'm sure those two are still blissfully unaware of anything. Tom must think I'm incapable of taking any action. If I say anything, he'll just use his power to control me. That's probably what he's thinking. But I won't let that happen anymore. I'm not his puppet. I'll return all the resentment and hatred I've suffered 100-fold. I will live my life on my terms. With these thoughts, I left that house. About a month after leaving, Tom called me. He was probably trying to check up on me. It's surprising he bothered to contact me after a month of not caring. While sighing at Tom's audacious behavior, I ignored his call and informed Scott. Fortunately, at this time, the mistress wouldn't be home yet. I called Scott over and told him it was time to put our plan into action. My phone kept ringing with calls from Tom as I waited for Scott. I had never ignored his calls before. So Tom must have been panicking inside. His frustration was evident, as calls came in every minute, non-stop. Annoyed by the constant ringing, I put my phone on silent, let Scott in, and then we just waited for the mistress to return. When she did, I answered Tom's call on speaker mode. Hello? Hello? What do you mean, hello? Are you kidding me? What's the point of having a phone if you don't answer it, huh? Tom was clearly furious, raising his voice despite his mistress being nearby. I felt so annoyed by his loudness that I instinctively turned down the volume. Can't help it. I was busy and couldn't answer. Lying has become so easy for me now. Usually, I would apologize immediately, but this time, I showed a bold attitude, which probably made Tom even angrier. His words became more aggressive, and his anger was palpable. Do you even realize who you're talking so arrogantly to? I'm well aware. Who do you think you are? Some kind of god? As I provoked him, Scott struggled to contain his laughter. It was as if he was saying keep going. I shared a mischievous smile with Scott and gave him a thumbs up. Don't get too cocky. I'm coming home now, so you better be there waiting. Tom's anger seemed to reach its limit. He was about to head home. But I stopped him. There's no need for that. What? Go look at the front door. Huh? Tom looks like he doesn't know what's going on. I just said that and then ended the call. Tom, clearly confused, did as told and opened the front door. The sight that greeted him left him speechless. See? No need for you to come back. Why are you here? Tom was astonished as I appeared from the room next door. Of course, Scott was right behind me. The mistress, noticing Tom's dumbstruck expression, also showed up.
What's going on, Tom? Scott?
Thanks for the clear evidence, I said with a full smile, having successfully captured a photo of the two of them emerging from the same house. Tom and his mistress, unable to grasp the situation, were lost for words. I continued to confront them. Too bad for you. Enjoying your cohabitation with your mistress? Seems like you've been getting along well every day and night. It's sickening to hear. How could you be like animals every single day? I felt disgusted just thinking about it, even food tasted bad. I taunted them with a mocking smile. Tom, triggered by my provocation, reached for me. But Scott pointed the camera at him, freezing his movement. Tom, though furious, realized the disadvantage of the situation.
Why are the two of you here?
It's a natural question, no doubt. Tom must be thinking the same thing.
Don't tell me you two are together.
Don't be ridiculous. Don't lump me with you monkeys. I'm working as a software engineer for Scott's company, I retorted, showing my employee ID with Scott's company name. And my department on it, proving it was no bluff. Scott's opening a new branch in New York, and he hired me as an engineer there. I used to work for myself, so my skills were taken into account. Tom, who never showed any interest in my work. He was unaware I had acquired engineering skills. He was visibly shocked to find out I had a job that paid more than his. We have solid evidence of your affair, so don't even bother making excuses. It's not an affair, it's an exaggeration. Yeah, we were just interacting closely. Did you hear our earlier conversation? They tried to defend themselves. As they desperately tried to escape the situation, I played the recordings of their lovemaking, loud enough to fill the hallway. I've got evidence, remember? Their own voices, calling out each other's names in passion, filled the space, causing discomfort to everyone listening. The two, embarrassed and frantic by their affair being exposed, begged me to stop playing the audio. Other residents passing through the hallway glanced over, curious about the commotion.
Stop! Yes! We were living together. I've admitted it, so please stop.
Seeing their pathetic state gave me a sense of satisfaction. And a wicked smile crossed my lips. Now you can't talk your way out of this. What do you want from us? What are you planning to do with us? Tom asked, still trying to be defiant despite being in a disadvantageous position. His stupidity left me speechless. I'm going to claim a proper compensation from both of you. And from you, Tom, I'll include the compensation for everything you've put me through, I declared, showing them the secretly filmed footage. It captured all the abuse Tom had inflicted on me, some too painful to watch. The mistress, unaware of this side of Tom. She turned pale, while Scott frowned at the disturbing images. Tom, not expecting such evidence to exist. He was speechless, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. I made sure to record it in case I ever had to do something like this with you someday. I believed that you loved me, no matter how badly you hurt me. I thought I was the best, and I persevered through it all. But somewhere along the way, I also understood that I was only desperately clinging to you. I was so scared of you that I didn't have the courage to stand up, but Scott opened up my eyes. Tom backs away as if frightened as I glare at him as if to express my strong will, perhaps unable to hide my surprise that for the first time I, who had been at my own beck and call, am being so forceful and defiant. Don't think you two will get away with this. I'll be claiming everything that's owed to me. They both hung their heads, resigned, saying nothing more. Thus, my battle with Tom came to an end. Afterwards, Scott divorced his wife. She begged for forgiveness repeatedly, but he was unyielding. He had a lawyer demand a proper compensation. I, too, sought the help of a competent lawyer introduced by Scott, claiming compensation from Tom for all the emotional abuse, including the affair. Of course, I also claimed damages from Scott's wife, and Scott pursued Tom for compensation as well. The two of them, burdened with more than double the compensation, were rumored to be living a hellish life. Tom got fired from his company for getting involved with the president's daughter. And she was disowned by her family. Finally, I got free. I continued working for Scott, with his kind staff looking after me in this new city. Thanks to the supportive environment, my skills rapidly improved, and I am now thriving as a department head. After all that had happened, I felt hopeless about life, but if I didn't give up, something good would surely come out of it. I promised myself that I would continue to look forward and keep pushing forward.